name's Alex Isles and welcome to the Ingram Valley right here in Northumberland National Park, where we're going to be looking at the Bronze Age again, but more specifically how people in the Bronze Age dealt with their dead. Now, to start off with, we have to set the scene again, and the Bronze Age was where there was a new migration of people into the British Isles, and this migration of people was the Beaker people. Now, the Beaker people are absolutely famous for their food vessels that they had, which were the shape of an upturned bell, so like a bell facing this direction like this, almost like a U shape. And when you have these beakers, they were exquisitely designed, very beautiful, and often used as food or beer containers. So the Beaker people then migrate into the British Isles, and they now need a way to deposit their dead into the landscape. Much like the Neolithic people before them, by depositing their dead into the landscape, they were now claiming the land, and they were saying we're a part of it as well. Now, the Neolithic people had used cairns as either a form of worship or a place of burying the dead, but in the late Neolithic, the start of the Bronze Age, we see some more cairns being built all around the British Isles, and these are the new Beaker peoples who are now looking at a way of depositing their dead into the landscape, or they've reused older Neolithic cairns as well. So when you have that, what you normally find is there's a central burial, and when there is a central burial, you then get the cairns and the stones placed over the top of it. So I'll just come up here, right up here on this hilltop, which is known as Turf Knowe. We have a type of cairn. Now again, this is very contentious because this is a type of cairn which is known as a tri-radial cairn, or it has three arms coming off the center. So you can see the three arms coming off in either direction, and then you have the central cairn. Now, some archaeologists actually say that these are not true cairns, but instead a type of sheepfold, and that you can see similar things across in the Pennines and other locations like that. And so they don't actually count these as a late Neolithic, early Bronze Age monument. But other archaeologists very much subscribe to the idea that this is a type of funerary monument used within the Bronze Age, and that they are sort of quite they're just not researched enough to actually be able to say for certain that this is a type of funerary monument. But I'll say for this video's sake that there are a number of other examples. For instance, at a place in Northumberland, a place called Lordenshaw's, we actually see a number of examples of these. So again, it could be there just isn't enough research yet into tri-radial cairns. But if this is one, it's got an amazing view, again suggesting that the Bronze Age people were putting them in place so that the dead, their spirits, would look over the landscape and therefore be more of a part of it as well. Coming over here, we have a different cairn on the other side of the hill. So it's another Bronze Age cairn buried into the landscape. And this Bronze Age cairn here is also very interesting. When this was created, it had a central burial. So probably either a big important individual within the community, so maybe a leading man or a leading woman. And when you have this leading individual, they are buried in the center of the cairn. So I'm just coming over. Yeah, here we go. So right here we have the excavated cairn. So there was a central burial with the central king, and when you have the central burial, the burial is then covered over by a capstone, but the body itself has not actually been preserved. So you can see in the center there, that's actually where the body would have been. So the body has been destroyed by the acidic soils that we have around here. So that's the first burial there. Then the stones would have been piled over the top, and then a curb of large stones has been placed around the outside, which adds a great deal of beauty to it. Later on though, an additional burial has been added to the site, and this additional burial is this one right here. Now this is absolutely beautiful. What we have here is we have two long stones down the sides, and then we have two additional capstones at head, and they're made of pink anchorite stone, which is common up here in Northumberland National Park. And so this was obviously very important, and it was used for a burial on this site at a later date. Following on from this, additional cremations were then added to this cairn, and when you have these additional cremations, we know that they were probably people who were in the community who were then burned and then added into the cairn at a later date. And we know at least one 30-year-old, one 18 to 30-year-old and one child were buried inside here. And then also inside here as well, there was a beautiful food container, a Bronze Age beaker that was buried inside here with a 2-year-old child within it. And that 2-year-old child, sadly, when they've analysed the bones, actually died of meningitis. So you can see how this starts off as a singular burial site for a leading family member, and then when you have the leading individual, other people from the community added to the cairn over the centuries, so that this cairn becomes a communal site. It becomes a very important location for the local people. And there's a sort of beauty to that, I think, because it's almost like not only is this just one person's grave, but it now represents everyone in the community who have lived in this area, who are part of the landscape. And these Bronze Age people, the beaker people who are coming in, are saying, no, this is our land now, this is our people. And it's almost like the spirits of the dead become a singular entity to watch over the landscape. And just like the tri-radial cairn, if it is a cairn, it is looking over the landscape here, and the stones would have been piled up, so they're almost like it's a home for the dead to look over the valley where other people are living. And alongside this as well, in the distances, you can see other hill forts. So there's a hill fort just over on the distance there, Bruflaw, and then you've also got other hill forts in the distance over here. So altogether, the dead are able to be within looking distance of the actual living, and the important site of a very important individual who is living up there as an aristocrat on the hilltop with their stone hill fort, which has got substantial walls and says about the power of that individual right there. So it's a very interesting one to see how the dead and the living side by side are claiming and controlling the landscape in this area. So even though that Iron Age hill fort is of a later date, it's still put in a location where it's close to this actual burial site as well. So this is turf law, and right here that tells you a little bit about the way the dead were treated and were utilised to claim the land and to basically put ownership onto the land in the Bronze Age. As this new population group migrates into the British Isles, they take over the previous existing monuments of the Neolithic people, they bury their dead in them, and then they add additional bodies into it so that it becomes a community burial site, a location for the dead for the whole community, therefore making it even more special to the local people. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode and you've been able to learn something about the way the Bronze Age people here in Northumberland dealt with their dead, how they buried them in here, and alongside that as well, the story of how Britain's Bronze Age population basically moved in and took over the land. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, like and share the videos, it helps no end. And alongside that as well, if you would like to support the channel more, please do support them on Patreon. And by doing so, you will be able to help shape the content I produce in the future with this channel. Until next time though, stay safe and well, and I look forward to showing you more history in the near future.